Hi everyone, this is Molly McCord and welcome back to my YouTube channel as we take a look at the Sagittarius New Moon that is happening on November 26, 2019. It's exact at 7:05 a.m. That's Pacific Standard Time, so be sure and adjust for your location on the planet. Now, this new moon is, of course, when the sun and the moon are conjunct, and they are at 4 degrees of Sagittarius and 2 minutes. And this is a time when the energies are united. Every new moon is a beginning point, a starting point, and that's why in your chart you would look for where 4 degrees of Sagittarius is to see where you are receiving support for this new beginning, this next adventure you are ready to embark upon. Sagittarius is the seeker and the explorer. It's here to rise above what it has been through, the current journey, to see it from a higher perspective, to ask, what have I learned? What has shaped me? What has formed my worldview? What do I take with me into my personal world? And what do I leave out in the world that is not mine? Sagittarius is very optimistic. It looks for inspiration. It wants to be positive and inspiring. It also wants to be free. It doesn't want commitments. There can be a restlessness with this energy. And we have a lot of Sagittarius energy, not only with the sun and the moon, but the ruler of this new moon is Jupiter. And Jupiter is actually finishing up the 12-month journey through Sagittarius and is preparing to go into Capricorn on December 2nd. So we only have about a week or so left of Jupiter in his home sign of Sagittarius. Jupiter in Sag has been encouraging us to stay open. Stay open to life, stay open to learning. Don't assume you know it all. Be willing to see something from a different vantage point or a different belief system. What have you learned in the past year that has expanded you? And that's been the gifts of this Jupiter in Sag. Jupiter expands whatever sign that he moves through, and Jupiter only visits a sign once every 12 years. So he will not be back in this area of your chart for another 12 years. So as Jupiter prepares to move on, we are being asked to look at what you're taking forward with you now. With this new moon, you could feel a desire to follow a leap of faith, to go for something new that you've been sitting with, that you've been feeling into, and you could now feel a push to move into it. There's a sense of being ready to expand and ready to also have some fun. Sagittarius is also very fitting for the holiday season as we have gifts and parties and a lot going on. This is definitely the Sagittarius energy that we see all around us. Sagittarius can also be exaggeration and propaganda. It can be, I'll just spend as much money as I want, or I'll eat all the food. And then when the planets move into Capricorn then is where we take on a responsibility and say, okay, yeah, maybe I need to cut back on some calories. Maybe I need to think about my diet. But at this new moon, we have a sense of what you want to do that inspires you, that uplifts you, and that reminds you life is lived forward. Life is lived moving ahead. So don't spend too much time in the past. What are you taking with you during this new moon that has new meaning? And it's through the experiences and the knowledge you've gained in the past year, the past decade, could be even longer. But there's a renewal energy here around what resonates with you at a soul level that could feel even bigger and more supported than ever before. And again, that's because of this Jupiter and Sagittarius energy that's been helping us feel positive and to trust that life supports us, even as we deal with some big realities and big truths. Now, this energy is also gaining here as we close out 2019. Both Saturn and Pluto will be conjunct in January. So we know that there are areas of our life that are requiring our work, our focus, responsibility, commitment, as well as deep change. So the Sagittarius energy is actually a welcomed energy because it reminds us of our own power and how we are in control of how we perceive ourselves in the world. The world is changing in big ways in 2020 and beyond. So look at what you need for the journey ahead, what you're packing in your suitcase that will support you and sustain you, that will help you rise up and see the bigger picture and believe in yourself regardless of the changes and structures that are shifting permanently. So the other elements in this new moon that are worth taking a look at include how both the sun and the moon are trining Chiron at 1 degree of Aries retrograde. In December, Chiron will station direct at 1 degree of Chiron, in Aries, 1 degree of Aries. So this energy is hovering around 1 degree, the very beginning of the zodiac. The zodiac begins at 0, so we're back to 1 degree. And this is where Chiron is showing us potentials for confidence, where we're developing a new courage to be ourselves. And the new moon, trining Chiron, gives you support, that fiery support, as Aries and Sag are fire signs. They are masculine energies. They are confidence and the desire to take action, to go for what you want, to understand more about who you are, the truth of who you are now. And there's a connection here energetically. The truth of who you are and loving and accepting these parts of yourselves that are emerging, gaining strength, and you'll be meeting more of in the next decade. So again, this is a return of a confidence that perhaps has felt weak or lacking. The fire signs bring in inspiration, motivation, and spiritual growth. They bring in the desire to keep going forward. Now, the other notable energy in this chart includes the recent opposition between Mars at 4 degrees of Scorpio opposing this Uranus at 3 degrees Taurus retrograde. This energy was exact a few days before this new moon, and it can be a test of your independence, of the actions you want to take, of something explosive, unexpected, dynamite, because Uranus, the planet of shock and awe and awakenings and unexpected developments, being opposed by Mars, which is desire, aggression, the body, the masculine sense of what you want. There could have been a power struggle between wills, your will and another person's will, feeling stuck and then breaking free, something being released. So there was a release energy before this new moon that you're now meant to utilize for your best and highest good going forward. And Mercury is now direct, and Mars is in Scorpio, which is a good astrological sign for Mars to follow a passion, to go for what he wants. He has force, he has determination, and he's ready to move ahead. And he's going to be making this trine to the North Node in Cancer. And then later on in December, Mars will also be making the trine to Neptune at 15 degrees of Pisces retrograde. Station. Oh, this is great to show you. Stationing direct. Neptune, stationing direct. That's what the S means. It essentially means station or stop, to move forward. So the Neptune energy is going to be moving ahead here. And this is important because whenever a planet is stationary, its influence is stronger. And so we're feeling the Pisces energy that can take you to other realms, other places. Often it makes us tired, or we need more sleep. But there can be confusion wherever this Neptune has been traveling. And as Neptune stations direct, the Mars energy is going to come through and make that trine when Mars gets to 15 degrees, and that's going to help with taking action on what has been forming in the Neptune and Pisces area of your chart. So Mars is an activator, and into December, he will be activating the dreams and desires that maybe you couldn't move forward earlier this year. Mars comes through and activates not only these water signs, but it's also going to make a sextile to Saturn and Pluto in Capricorn later on in December. So Mars is strong, and Mars is going to get things moving. So I guess that's a heads up that as we go into the last month of 2019, there is momentum here, because the only planet that's going to be retrograde is Uranus. Chiron stations direct in December. So by the end of the year, all the planets are direct except Uranus. And Uranus stations direct in January. Okay, so as these planets station and then move forward, you feel the energy shift. You feel that sense of, yes, movement. I'm going to be ready for these next steps. So I hope that helps paint a bigger picture around what is transpiring. I realize that's a little bit out of the scope of this new moon energy, but it helps to see where things are going and where the energies are picking up. Now, that being said, we do have this Mercury making a grand trine to the North Node and to Neptune. This is the third time Mercury is making this grand trine, and it means things are clicking, things are known, things are understood. You have mental clarity that you've been sitting on since October, perhaps. And then this Mercury also meets up with Saturn and Pluto through a sextile, and that also is commitments, signing contracts, ready to go, forward steps. Something is clear and concrete, and you have a reliability here around what you've been pondering and working through over the Mercury retrograde that was in effect until November 20th, 21st. So the second half of November has a very different energy. And then you bring in this Sagittarius New Moon, and there's just a boost of momentum, and even a sense of you're ready. And I feel that at a soul level, that everything that has been working with us over the past number of years has prepared you for your next level of soul expansion. And that would be a good way to look at this new moon. It's a soul expansion new moon. Jupiter is still conjunct the Galactic Center at 27 degrees of Sagittarius. And it's downloads of cosmic consciousness, bigger energy fields, bigger awareness, a higher perspective is built into this new moon. And then there's support in developing this confidence to be this new version of yourself, which is more awake and more conscious than perhaps you've ever been in any lifetime of existence. It is that big. You know, these are rare, incredible energies. So I feel like this new moon is lifting you up to believing in yourself, believing in who you are now, giving you more trust and faith in what you're being called to do next, and the right decision making. That's also another element of this Mercury. You're feeling like, I know what I need to do, and I'm going to make the commitments to do it. So a really lovely Sagittarius new moon, and one that we can make the most of, and that we are encouraged to keep moving forward and to let this year be at peace, to let this decade be at peace. We only have one more month of this decade, one more month of this year. And in fact, this is the last new moon of 2019, because the next new moon is actually a solar eclipse, and it is the Capricorn solar eclipse. It's new moon solar eclipse on December 25th, 26th. So right there on Christmas or Boxing Day, depending on where you are on the planet. So there's energy here that's lifting you up to prepare you for your next assignment as we move into 2020 and beyond. So I hope this has given you some good insights to think about. And if you've watched my channel for a while, then you're probably aware of the 2020 Soul Growth webinar that you can purchase and learn about your chart's energies through 2020, and how the first half of the year is very different than the second half of 2020. And I also have a webinar in there that's about the 6 eclipses. So a lot happening in 2020, very rare, and we're ready. We're ready. So trust that it's time, that you have what you need, believe in yourself, and off we go. So I'll be back soon with our next Gemini full moon. In the meantime, I wish you the very best as we move through Sagittarius season.